where the mom's ex-boyfriend is now in jail, charged with Khylie's murder.
Yeah, and Khylie's grandmother is speaking out for the first time, even as more details about that tragic night are now being released.
It's just a hurtful process at this time, and we're devastated.
In fact, Tracy Sorrells says her heart is broken after her daughter Brittany was shot in the shoulder and survived, and her granddaughter Khylie was shot in the head and killed.
It's a nightmare. Not sleeping, not eating.
The beautiful 9-year-old, as you can see here, loved basketball and goofing off. Brittany was watching a movie with her 3 children Monday night just before 10, and according to court records, her apartment door was unlocked for her cousin who lives with her. That's when she says her ex-boyfriend, Jeremiah Jones, came in,
2022, a mother made the most horrifying call of her life. Her 9-year-old daughter had been shot in the head. The gunman? Her ex-boyfriend, 22-year-old Jeremiah Jones. But here's what makes this case even more disturbing. Brittany Sorrells had called police 4 times that month. 4 times she reported threats. 4 times she begged for help. So I have to ask you this question. How many warnings does the system need before an innocent child pays the price? What you're about to hear will make you question everything about domestic violence laws in America. Let me tell you about Khylie Sorrells, 9 years old, full of life, and absolutely obsessed with basketball. She was a starting player on her team, the kind of kid who would come home from practice and immediately start making TikTok videos with her little sisters. Khylie wasn't some random victim. She was actively involved in the Houston Police Activities League, a program designed to keep kids safe and connected to their community. The irony of that will hit you later. Her mother, Brittany Sorrells, was doing her best as a single mom raising 3 daughters. Khylie, age 9, a 7-year-old, and a 1-year-old baby. 3 little girls who depended on their mom for everything. On this Monday evening, June 13th, they were doing what thousands of families do every night, watching a movie together in bed. Normal, safe, protected. But Brittany had no idea that in less than 2 hours, her family would be shattered forever. So here's my question for you. If someone you once loved started threatening your children, what would you do? How far would you go to protect them? 8 months before that terrible night, Brittany Sorrells met Jeremiah Jones, 22 years old, charming enough to win over a single mother of 3. And for a while, things seemed normal. But looking back at the evidence, the red flags were there from the beginning. Jeremiah didn't want to be Brittany's boyfriend. He wanted to own her, control her, decide who she could talk to, where she could go, what she could do. The possessiveness started small, checking her phone, questioning her about other men, making her account for every minute of her day. Classic signs that domestic violence experts see over and over again. By April 2022, Brittany had seen enough. She ended the relationship, told Jeremiah it was over, tried to move on with her life and focus on her 3 daughters. Most people would respect that decision and walk away. Most people would understand that no means no. But Jeremiah wasn't done with her, not even close. 1 week before Khylie was murdered, Jeremiah Jones showed up at Brittany's apartment. He wasn't there to talk. He came armed with a gun. Standing in her doorway, he looked Brittany straight in the eyes and threatened to kill her. Not someday, not maybe, he was going to kill her. Brittany did exactly what she was supposed to do. She called the police. She reported the threat. She followed every piece of advice given to domestic violence victims. But here's the horrifying truth. That wasn't her first call. Court documents show Brittany contacted law enforcement 4 separate times in the month leading up to her daughter's murder. 4 times she reached out for help. 4 times she tried to protect her family. Each report documented the same pattern. Jeremiah showing up uninvited, making threats, refusing to leave her alone, getting more aggressive each time. The evidence was right there in black and white. A clear escalation of violence from a man who couldn't accept rejection. The system failed them. and I'm about to show you exactly how. So who is Jeremiah Jones, and how did this system allow him to walk free with a loaded gun? Jeremiah's criminal record starts when he was 12 years old. 12. Theft, making terroristic threats, reckless driving. By the time he turned 22, this man had been arrested more times than most people get speeding tickets. But here's the part that should make your blood boil. On the night he murdered Khylie Sorrells, Jeremiah Jones was out on 5 separate bonds in Harris County. 5 different cases, 5 different chances for judges to say enough is enough and keep him locked up.
Brittany's mom says her daughter is 100% sure it was him.
She was looking at him, they were talking and he got upset and, couldn't take no for an answer.
Jones, who was out on bond for several felony charges, dated Sorrells for 8 months and they broke up 2 months ago. Her mom says Brittany secured a restraining order because she says Jones was constantly threatening her daughter, and according to court records, Jones went
2 weeks before the murder, he was released on bond for being a felon in possession of a firearm. 2 weeks, he walked out of jail with a gun charge hanging over his head, and nobody thought he might be dangerous. What drives a man to execute a 9-year-old child? Domestic violence experts see this pattern repeatedly. It's about power. When men like Jeremiah lose control over their victims, when they can't manipulate or intimidate anymore, they escalate to the ultimate act of control: murder. But this wasn't about Khylie. She was never the target. This was about punishing Brittany in the most devastating way possible, taking away what she loved most. Here's my question for you. Should repeat offenders like Jeremiah Jones ever be given bond? Comment below and tell me what you think. Let me walk you through the justice system's complete failure in this case, because what I'm about to tell you will make you question how our courts operate. May 29, 2022. Jeremiah Jones is arrested for being a felon in possession of a firearm, a serious charge, the kind that should keep dangerous people behind bars. But 15 days later, he's walking free, released on bond again. That wasn't his only active case. Jeremiah was also facing charges for evading arrest. He had violated a protective order filed by a completely different woman. 3 separate cases. 3 separate opportunities for the system to recognize the pattern. But it gets worse. Andy Cahan, a victim's advocate with Crime Stoppers, reviewed Jeremiah's record and said something that should haunt every judge in Harris County. Quote, "They had this guy multiple times. They had umpteenth chances to keep him in custody. Umpteenth chances, multiple victims, clear escalation of violence, and still the courts kept setting him free." This isn't about one judge making one bad decision. This is about a bail system that prioritizes getting people out of jail over keeping communities safe. A system that treats domestic violence like a minor inconvenience instead of a deadly threat. While Jeremiah Jones was collecting bond after bond, Brittany Sorrells was collecting death threats, and the system that was supposed to protect her family was actively putting them in danger. June 13, 2022, a Monday that started like any other day for the Sorrells family. Surveillance cameras tracked Jeremiah Jones throughout Houston that day. The footage shows him moving around the city, but investigators haven't revealed where he went or what he was planning. What we do know is that he had hours to think about what he was going to do. Meanwhile, Brittany was having a completely normal evening with her daughter. Her cousin was staying with them, walking in and out of the apartment. Khylie was being her usual energetic self. The younger girls were playing. Around 8 o'clock, the family settled in for movie night. All 4 of them piled into Brittany's bed, watching television together. The kind of peaceful moment every parent treasures. Brittany's cousin continued going back and forth, helping with the kids, running errands. Each time he left, the front door stayed unlocked. Why would they lock it? This was their home, their safe space. None of them knew that Jeremiah had been watching, waiting, planning the perfect moment to strike. At 9:54 p.m., A man filled with rage and jealousy walked through that unlocked door. What happened next would destroy this family forever. 9:54 p.m., Oxford Street, Camden apartment complex. Jeremiah Jones walks through the front door like he owns the place. No breaking in, no forced entry. The door was unlocked because Brittany's cousin had been going in and out all evening. Brittany is in bed with her 3 daughters watching a movie when she hears footsteps. She looks up and sees her ex-boyfriend standing in her living room, the same man who threatened to kill her 1 week earlier. But Jeremiah doesn't start with violence. He starts with something that seems almost normal. He demands a television, claims it belongs to him. Brittany doesn't argue. She watches him rip the TV off the wall and drag it to the front of the apartment. Then the real reason for his visit becomes clear. Jeremiah turns on Brittany with pure hatred in his eyes. He accuses her of seeing other men, demands she hand over her cell phone so he can check her messages. Brittany is terrified. Her children are right there, watching this confrontation unfold. She gives him the phone, tries to keep things calm, hopes he'll take what he wants and leave. But that's not why Jeremiah came here tonight. What happened next shocked even seasoned detectives who thought they'd seen everything. With Brittany's phone in his hand, Jeremiah's rage reaches a breaking point. The family gets separated during the confrontation. Somehow, 9-year-old Khylie ends up in the back bedroom. What happens next I can barely say out loud. Detective Sergeant Michael Kaz, who has investigated hundreds of violent crimes, described it this way, quote, "The suspect here executed a 9-year-old little girl in the apartment with a handgun. Executed a 9-year-old child. Brittany hears 2 gunshots from the bedroom. 2 shots that end her daughter's life instantly. Jeremiah walks out of that room and looks at Brittany, the woman who dared to leave him. Then he shoots her too, once in the shoulder, not to kill her, but to make sure she suffers, make sure she lives with what he's done." Jeremiah flees the apartment, leaving Brittany bleeding and desperate. She runs to the bedroom and finds Khylie on the floor. Her little girl, her basketball-playing, TikTok-making, police activities league daughter, is dying. Brittany grabs her phone with her good arm and dials 911. The call you heard at the beginning of this video. A mother screaming that her daughter has been shot. Paramedics race to Oxford Street. They rush both victims to the hospital. But for 9-year-old Khylie Sorrells, it's already too late. As paramedics work frantically to save Kylie's life, Jeremiah Jones is speeding away from the Camden apartment complex. A man who murdered a child, now free on Houston streets. Houston police officers flood Oxford Street within minutes. The scene they find is horrific. Blood in the bedroom where Khylie was shot, blood in the living room where Brittany was wounded, and 2 other children, ages 1 and 7, who witnessed their sister's murder. At the hospital, doctors fight to save Khylie, but the gunshot wound to her head is too severe. She's pronounced dead shortly after arrival. Brittany undergoes treatment for her shoulder wound and survives. Within hours, Houston police deploy SWAT teams across the city. Jeremiah Jones is now the subject of a massive manhunt. Capital murder suspect, armed and dangerous. A 22-hour search begins. The Heights neighborhood is in complete shock. Residents tell reporters they heard the gunshots, heard the screaming. Some saw the ambulances racing down Oxford Street, but nobody expected to learn that a 9-year-old had been executed in their community. Police Chief Troy Finner makes this case personal. Khylie wasn't some random victim. She was a member of the Police Activities League, one of their own. And every officer in Houston wants Jeremiah Jones caught. 22 hours after Khylie Sorrells was murdered, Houston police finally track down Jeremiah Jones. Surveillance cameras across the city helped investigators piece together his movements. The footage leads them to a parking lot in the 22,000 block of Imperial Valley Drive, near Spring, Texas. At 6 p.m. on June 14th, Houston SWAT and tactical team officers surround Jeremiah's location. This is the moment everyone has been waiting for. The man who executed a 9-year-old child is about to face justice. But there's no dramatic shootout, no high-speed chase. Jeremiah Jones surrenders without incident, almost like he knew this moment was coming. During the arrest, officers make a critical discovery. Jeremiah is carrying a gun. The same man who was out on bond for being a felon in possession of a firearm is caught with another weapon less than 24 hours after committing murder. He's immediately transported to Harris County Jail. The charges are filed within hours. Capital murder for the death of Khylie Sorrells, aggravated assault with a deadly weapon for shooting Brittany Sorrells. In Texas, capital murder carries the possibility of the death penalty. For the first time since this nightmare began, Jeremiah Jones might actually face real consequences for his. June 21, 2022. Jeremiah Jones appears before a Harris County judge for his bond hearing. He walks into the courtroom wearing a yellow jumpsuit and handcuffs. The same hands that pulled the trigger on a 9-year-old child are now shackled behind his back. The prosecutor wastes no time laying out the horrific details. A man who executed his ex-girlfriend's daughter in cold blood. A man who was already out on 5 separate bonds when he committed murder. A man who represents a clear and present danger to the community. The judge's decision is swift and final. Bond denied. For once, the justice system gets it right. Jeremiah Jones will remain behind bars while awaiting trial. No more chances, no more bonds, no more opportunities to hurt innocent people. The capital murder charge means prosecutors could seek the death penalty. In Texas, executing a child during the commission of another felony makes this a death penalty case. The question isn't whether Jeremiah deserves it, the question is whether prosecutors will pursue it. But Jeremiah's defense team isn't giving up. They claim he has an alibi. They say surveillance footage shows him at a gas station 15 to 20 minutes before the shooting. They're suggesting he couldn't have made it to Oxford Street in time. It's a desperate attempt to create reasonable doubt, but the evidence against Jeremiah Jones is overwhelming. Houston Police Chief Troy Finner doesn't just issue a statement about Khylie's murder. He personally visits the Sorrells family to offer his support and condolences. This case hits different for Chief Finner. Khylie wasn't some stranger. She was part of the Houston police family, a member of the Police Activities League program, a 9-year-old who trusted law enforcement to keep her safe. In his public statement, Chief Finner said, quote, "This horrific act of domestic violence hits home for me and the HPD family. That sweet child was a student and member of our Police Activities League program." The community responds immediately. A GoFundMe page is created to help Brittany cover funeral expenses and medical bills. Donations pour in from strangers who are heartbroken by this senseless tragedy. Neighbors in the Heights area are still processing what happened. Many tell reporters they heard the gunshots that night. They heard the screaming. They saw the ambulances racing down Oxford Street, but nobody imagined a child had been murdered in their neighborhood. Domestic violence advocates used Khylie's death to highlight systemic failures. They point out that Brittany did everything right. She called police, she reported threats, she tried to protect her family, but the system that was supposed to save them kept releasing the man who would eventually destroy them. Brittany Sorrells lost her daughter in the most violent way possible. She survived a gunshot wound, but the trauma of watching her 9-year-old being murdered will never heal. She's left to raise 2 remaining daughters while living with the knowledge that the system failed to protect them. This tragedy was preventable. Jeremiah Jones had threatened Brittany with a gun 1 week before the murder. He was out on 5 different bonds. He had violated protective orders. The warning signs were everywhere, written in police reports that nobody seemed to take seriously. Khylie Sorrells should be remembered for who she was, a basketball player, a Police Activities League member, a little girl who loved making TikTok videos with her sisters. She deserved to grow up. She deserved to live. If you or someone you know is experiencing domestic violence, please reach out for help. The National Domestic Violence Hotline is 1-800-799-7233. Local resources are available in every community, but here's what I want you to think about. What changes need to happen to prevent another Khylie Sorrells? Should repeat offenders get bond? Should domestic violence threats be taken more seriously? Comment below and tell me what you think needs to change. Chief Finner said something that should guide us all. We will not tolerate violence in our city. But tolerance isn't the problem. The problem is a system that keeps giving violent men second chances while their victims pay the ultimate price.